The mountains never rushed anyone. That was the first thing Lydia Harrington learned when she moved there. At 61, after a lifetime of urgency, of fixing other people's messes, of answering calls she never wanted to take, the mountains taught her stillness, the kind that didn't need permission. That morning, the air was crisp and clean, the kind that filled your lungs and reminded you that you were still alive. Lydia stood alone in the main hall of her retreat, trimming wildflowers she had picked at dawn: purple lupine, white yarrow, a few stubborn daisies that refused to die even in rocky soil. She liked arranging flowers when the house was empty. No stories, no tears, no confessions whispered over tea, just silence. The women were in town for counseling. By noon, the halls would echo with laughter, footsteps, the sound of lives rebuilding. But right now, the retreat belonged only to her. Then she heard it. An engine, low, heavy, unfamiliar, and yet painfully remembered. The sound climbed the narrow mountain road like a warning. Lydia's hands froze. No one was scheduled to arrive. Her chest tightened, not with fear, but recognition. She walked slowly to the window. A black SUV pulled into the gravel drive. Polished, expensive, out of place. Her reflection stared back at her in the glass. Calm eyes, silver hair pulled back, a face that had learned how to hold its ground. She didn't need to see the license plate. She already knew. The doors slammed. Footsteps followed, one sharp and impatient, one deliberate and heavy. The past had found her. The doorbell chimed softly, the same sound that usually welcomed frightened women searching for safety. Today, it announced the people who had wounded her most. Lydia exhaled once. Then she opened the door. Logan Harrington stood there, tall and polished, dressed like success still loved him. Behind him was Vanessa. Perfect hair, perfect coat, perfect judgment. "We heard you moved to a luxury place in the mountains, so we came to make peace." Before Lydia could speak, Vanessa stepped inside. Logan rolled 2 large suitcases across the threshold without asking. "Don't just stand there, Mom. Help with the bags." Lydia stepped aside. She didn't argue. She wanted them inside. Because once they saw everything, there would be no going back. The suitcases rolled across the wooden floor, their wheels echoing louder than they should have. Logan didn't notice. Vanessa didn't care. They walked deeper into the retreat as if it already belonged to them, their footsteps sharp, impatient, city people inside a place that breathed differently. Lydia followed behind without a word. She let silence do the work. The main hall opened wide before them, high wooden beams, sunlight pouring through tall windows, the smell of fresh bread still lingering in the air. And then they stopped, both of them, at the same time. The far wall pulled their attention like gravity. Dozens of framed photographs covered it, neatly aligned, carefully spaced, stretching from floor to ceiling. Not abstract art, not landscapes, not inspirational quotes. Faces. Women. Real ones. Logan frowned first. Vanessa tilted her head, confused. "Why are there so many strangers on your wall?" Vanessa asked, her tone already irritated. "Is this some kind of display?" Lydia stepped forward, past them, and stood beneath the photographs. "This," she said calmly, "is the reason you're standing here." Logan's eyes scanned the wall again. No baby photos, no graduation pictures, no wedding portraits, no evidence of him. "You don't have a single family photo up," he said. "That's strange." Lydia smiled faintly. "No, it's intentional." Vanessa crossed her arms. "So what is this place really, Lydia? Some late-life hobby? A guilt project?" Lydia didn't answer right away. She studied their reflections in the glass frames, how uncomfortable they already looked, how small their certainties suddenly seemed. "My whole life, people believed I existed to be useful." Logan shifted his weight. "I raised you alone after your father left. I worked double shifts at the hospital. I paid bills, I solved problems. I smiled when no one asked how I was doing." She turned to face them. "And when you stopped asking, I finally started listening." Logan opened his mouth, then closed it. Vanessa scoffed. "You're being dramatic." "No," Lydia replied evenly. "I'm being precise." She gestured to the wall. "When every conversation became about what you needed, money, time, favors, I understood something too late. I had spent decades being strong for people who didn't value me." She moved to the first photo and gently touched the frame. "So I left." Logan frowned. "You disappeared." "I escaped," Lydia corrected. Vanessa laughed sharply. "And turned your life into a charity project?" Lydia didn't flinch. "I turned my life into something that mattered." She pointed to the wide windows, the mountains beyond them standing patient and unbothered. "This isn't a resort. It's a recovery retreat." Logan blinked. "Recovery from what?" "From being erased," Lydia said quietly. Vanessa's lips tightened. "So these women live here?" "Yes." "And you support them?" Vanessa asked. "No," Lydia replied. "They support each other." Logan shook his head. "You never told me any of this." "You never asked," Lydia said softly. The words landed harder than shouting ever could. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "We thought you were finally enjoying yourself." "I am," Lydia said, "just not in a way you recognize." She folded her hands calmly. "Everything you see here was paid for with my own savings. No investors, no sponsors, just years of work and sacrifice." Logan stared at her. "Then why does everyone say you're rich?" Lydia almost smiled. "Because people confuse peace with money." Vanessa scoffed. "This is ridiculous. You haven't even seen the most important part yet." She stepped closer to the wall. "This is Luna," she said, touching the first frame. A young woman with tired eyes but a gentle smile stared back, a baby resting against her chest. She arrived 2 years ago, pregnant, homeless. Her family told her to go back to the man who hurt her. Vanessa's expression hardened. She refused, slept in her car, came here with nothing. Lydia moved to the next photo. "This is Margaret. Her children drained her retirement savings and placed her in a nursing home she couldn't afford." Another frame. "This is Helen. 20 years as a school principal. Her husband convinced her she was worthless. When she left him, she didn't even know how to access her own bank account." Logan exhaled sharply. "What does this have to do with us?" "Everything," Lydia said. "These women didn't come here because they were weak. They came because they were brave enough to start again." Vanessa laughed under her breath. "They look like a collection of problems." Lydia turned so fast the room seemed to snap into place. "They are my daughters." The word didn't echo. It settled. Logan stared at her. "That's not possible. You're not their mother." "I didn't give birth to them," Lydia said. "I chose them, and they chose me." She stepped closer. "They call me when they're afraid. They come to me with good news. They ask for advice." Her eyes met Logan's. "When was the last time you did that?" He looked away. Vanessa snapped. "So you replaced your real family with strangers?" Lydia shook her head slowly. "I built something real." She pointed again. "That baby has never gone to bed hungry since coming here. That woman now works at the local clinic. Another, that woman grows food that feeds this entire community. Another, that woman teaches others how to survive. Vanessa folded her arms tighter. You're running an emotional cult. No, Lydia replied calmly. I'm running a family that actually shows up. She stepped closer to Logan. You walked away from me long before I walked away from you. Logan swallowed. So you'd choose them over us? Lydia nodded. Every day. Logan raised his voice. They're using you. They contribute, Lydia said. They respect me. She paused. You never did. Silence filled the hall. Vanessa scoffed. You think you're better than us now? No, Lydia said. I think I'm finally free. She studied Logan carefully. Tell me the truth, she said. Why are you really here? Logan hesitated. Vanessa answered too quickly. Business slowed down, she said. Things got complicated. Complicated means debt, Lydia said. Logan sighed. Some. How much? 53,000. The truth finally stood in the room. Vanessa looked away. You heard I bought property, Lydia said. You assumed I was wealthy. Logan didn't deny it. You thought you could move in, pretend it was about family. Vanessa snapped. It just made sense. No, Lydia replied. It was convenient. She folded her arms. The women here ask for help honestly. They don't arrive with suitcases and entitlement. Vanessa scoffed. We're not like them. That's the problem, Lydia said. Logan rubbed his face. We just need time. You need humility, Lydia replied. Footsteps approached outside. Laughter. The women were returning. Lydia turned to them. Decide carefully, she said, because when they walk through that door, you'll see what family actually looks like. The door opened. Warm voices filled the hall. Luna stepped inside, bread in her arms, her daughter on her hip. Her face lit up when she saw Lydia. We brought fresh bread, she said happily. Then she noticed Logan and Vanessa. Oh, she said softly, I didn't know you had visitors. Logan muttered, so this is one of them, one of the burdens. Luna froze. The room went still. Margaret stepped forward. You will not speak to her like that. Vanessa sneered. And who are you? Someone who belongs here, Margaret replied. Helen joined them. These women work harder than anyone you know. Logan laughed bitterly. You're all using my mother. Lydia stepped forward. No, she said quietly. You are the one who came expecting to be taken care of. Vanessa shook her head. This place is insane. I'm surrounded by survivors, Lydia said. Logan sneered. They'll leave you too. Lydia smiled gently. They already stayed. She looked at him. Get your bags. Vanessa laughed nervously. You're not serious. I am. You'd throw out your own son? I'm choosing respect. The suitcases rolled back toward the door. When it closed, the room felt lighter. No one cheered. They didn't need to. The family remained. The door did not slam. It closed softly. That was what made it final. Lydia stood still long after the sound faded, her hand resting lightly against the wood as if she could feel the echo of what had just left. Outside, the SUV engine roared once, angry, wounded, and then disappeared down the mountain road. No one rushed to speak. No one needed to. The women remained where they were, forming a quiet circle around Lydia without planning it. Luna adjusted her daughter on her hip. Margaret folded her hands. Helen watched Lydia's face carefully, the way a teacher watches a student after a difficult test. Lydia exhaled. Not release, release. I'm sorry you had to hear that, she said finally, her voice steady. Luna shook her head. You don't need to apologize. Margaret nodded. People show you who they are when they don't get what they want. Lydia smiled faintly. Yes, they do. She looked at the bread in Luna's arms. "Thank you for bringing this." Luna's daughter reached out, patting Lydia's sweater with clumsy fingers. Lydia laughed softly and kissed the child's forehead. And just like that, life moved forward. The first crack. Logan didn't speak during the drive down the mountain. Vanessa did. "This is unbelievable," she snapped, gripping the dashboard. "She chose them! She actually chose them!" Logan's jaw was tight. His hands clenched the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. "She's lost it," Vanessa continued. "Living in the woods, surrounded by broken women, playing savior." Logan said nothing. For the first time in his life, something didn't add up. His mother hadn't looked confused. She hadn't looked lonely. She had looked certain. That unsettled him more than anger ever could. Back at the retreat. That evening, the retreat returned to its rhythm. Dinner was simple: soup, bread, laughter at the long table, stories shared, small victories celebrated. One woman announced she had passed her certification exam. Another shared that she had opened her first bank account in her own name. Lydia listened more than she spoke. Later, as the women drifted off to their cabins, Helen stayed behind. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. Lydia nodded. "Better than I expected." Helen hesitated. "Do you want to talk about it?" Lydia shook her head. "Not tonight." She looked out the window, the mountains dark against the sky. "I mourned that relationship years ago," she said quietly. "Today was just the burial." Helen squeezed her hand once and left her alone. The phone call. 3 days later, Lydia's phone rang. Unknown number. She let it ring. It rang again. She answered calmly. "Hello? Mom?" Logan's voice was thinner than she remembered. "I'm not going to argue," he said quickly. "Vanessa and I are staying at a motel, just for a few days." Lydia said nothing. "She's upset," he continued. "I think she thought you'd cave." Lydia looked at the garden outside her window where Margaret was teaching 2 women how to prune tomato plants. "I didn't," Lydia said. "I know," Logan replied. His voice cracked, just slightly. "I didn't expect that." Silence stretched. "Do you need money?" Lydia asked calmly. Logan hesitated. No. I mean, maybe." "I won't give you any," Lydia said. There was no anger in her voice, just clarity. "I can help you find counseling," she continued. "I can help you build a plan, but I won't rescue you from choices you won't take responsibility for." Vanessa's voice shouted in the background. "Who are you talking to?" Logan lowered his voice. "She's different. She always was," Lydia replied. He swallowed. "Can I come back alone?" Lydia closed her eyes briefly. "No," she said gently. "Not yet." The line went dead. The fall. The consequences came quickly. Vanessa left first. She packed her designer bags and flew back to the city, posting smiling photos online as if nothing had happened. But Logan stayed behind. The business folded within weeks. Calls went unanswered. Friends stopped replying. The credit cards maxed out. For the first time in his life, Logan faced silence, the kind his mother had lived with for decades. One night he sat alone in his car, parked outside the same motel, scrolling through old photos on his phone. Pictures of holidays his mother had hosted, meals she had cooked, smiles she had forced. He had been there, but he had never seen her. Back in the mountains. Lydia planted lavender that spring. She liked its stubbornness. Luna helped when she wasn't working at the clinic. Margaret expanded the budget workshops. Helen trained 3 new arrivals. The retreat grew, not louder, not flashier, but stronger. One afternoon, a young woman arrived shaking, her hands empty, her eyes filled with fear. Lydia welcomed her inside. "What's your name?" she asked. "Emma," the woman whispered. "You're safe here, Emma," Lydia said. The words had weight now, because Lydia believed them. The message. 6 months later, Lydia received an email from Logan Harrington. "I'm in therapy. Vanessa left. I finally understand what I lost." Lydia read it once. Then she deleted it, not out of cruelty, out of peace. Quiet justice. One evening, Lydia stood on the balcony, watching the women laugh around a fire pit. The air smelled of pine and possibility. Margaret joined her. "Do you regret it?" asked Margaret. Lydia smiled softly. "No," she said. "I finally stopped confusing love with obligation." Below them, Luna's daughter ran across the grass, fearless. The mountains stood unchanged, and Lydia knew something then, deep in her bones. Revenge wasn't watching someone suffer. Revenge was building a life they could never take from her. The mountains had a way of carrying stories, not loudly, not all at once. They traveled in quiet ways, through conversations at the town cafe, through small miracles noticed too late, through women who walked differently after staying at Lydia Harrington's retreat. The first article appeared in a local paper. It was small, almost hidden. "Mountain Program helps women rebuild lives." No photos of Lydia, no mention of her past, just a few lines about a quiet retreat where women learned financial literacy, gardening, and self-trust. Lydia clipped it out and folded it into a drawer. She didn't share it. She didn't need to. New arrivals. Spring brought more than flowers. It brought women. Some came with backpacks, some with bruises hidden beneath sleeves. Some arrived in borrowed cars, shaking hands, gripping steering wheels, as if letting go meant falling. Lydia welcomed each one the same way. "Come inside," she would say. "You don't have to explain everything today." That was the rule. No one was forced to tell their story before they were ready. Healing didn't like deadlines. The system they built. Margaret refined the financial program. No jargon, no shame, just truth. "This isn't about how much money you have," she told the group one morning. "It's about knowing where it goes." Women who once feared numbers now tracked budgets, opened savings accounts, asked questions without apology. Helen expanded the skills workshops, resume writing, interview practice, public speaking. "You don't have to sound confident," she said. "You just have to keep talking until you believe yourself." Luna became a bridge. Women trusted her. She had been them. She worked full-time at the clinic now, but she returned every evening, sitting with newcomers, rocking babies, reminding them that fear was not a life sentence. Lydia's name. People in town started using Lydia's name differently, not as a widow, not as an aging nurse, but as a woman who built something. A city council member visited. A nonprofit representative asked questions. Lydia answered carefully. "We don't expand faster than we can protect the women here," she said. Power, she had learned, didn't need speed. The letter. One afternoon, Lydia received a handwritten letter. No return address. Inside, "Your place saved my sister. She didn't survive, but she didn't die afraid." Lydia sat with the letter for a long time. Then she placed it on the wall. Not framed, just remembered. Logan watches from afar. Logan followed the retreat online. He never commented. He saw photos of gardens he helped ignore. workshops his mother had never mentioned, smiling faces that didn't look grateful, just alive. It hurt. Because he could finally see what she had been building while he was busy taking. That summer, the women gathered around the fire pit. Stories surfaced, not dramatic, not polished, honest ones. "I stayed because no one rushed me," one woman said. "I learned how to say no," another added. "I learned that leaving wasn't failure," a third whispered. Lydia listened and realized something profound. The retreat no longer needed her to survive. That was success. A car pulled into the driveway one morning. Not black, not expensive, ordinary. A man stepped out, nervous, unsure. Lydia recognized the posture before the face. Logan. He didn't carry suitcases this time, just a folder. He stopped a few steps away. "I won't come in unless you invite me," he said. Lydia studied him. He looked smaller, not weaker, just real. "This isn't a place to visit," she said. "It's a place to earn." He nodded. "I know." She didn't answer, not yet. Behind her, the retreat breathed, strong, alive. And for the first time, the world wasn't watching her fall apart. It was watching her rise. Logan stood where Lydia had told him to stop. Not on the porch, not inside the hall, on the gravel path that marked the boundary between arrival and belonging. The mountains were quiet, but the silence between them was heavy. Lydia did not rush. She never rushed anymore. "What do you want?" she asked, not sharply, not kindly, just truthfully. Logan swallowed. "A chance." Lydia studied him the way she had learned to study people here, watching posture, breath, the way words came out. "Why?" she asked. He hesitated. And then, for the first time in his life, he didn't cover it with confidence. "Because I don't know who I am without taking," he said. The words surprised even him. Lydia felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, possibility. "You don't come in as my son," Lydia said calmly. "You come in as a man who needs to rebuild." Logan nodded immediately. "That's fair." "You won't live in the main house. You'll stay in a shared cabin." "I understand." "You'll work," she said. "Hard, manual, uncomfortable." He didn't hesitate. "Good." "You won't speak to the women unless they speak to you first." He flinched, but nodded. "And if you disrespect even one person here," Lydia finished, "you leave. No discussion." Logan met her eyes. "I won't." Lydia stepped aside. "Then you may enter," she said, "not as a reward, as a test." Logan's hands blistered before noon. He had never worked soil before. Not really. Not the kind that resisted you, that demanded patience and strength without praise. Margaret watched him silently from the porch. At lunch, he waited to be told where to sit. No one spoke to him. Not cruelly, just neutrally. He had never felt so invisible, and for the first time, he understood what his mother had lived with. That evening, his phone buzzed. "Vanessa, you're embarrassing yourself." He stared at the screen. Didn't reply. Lydia did not hover. She didn't check on him. She didn't explain him to the others. That was intentional. If he stayed, it would be because he earned it. 3 days in, Logan made a mistake. He corrected a woman during a budgeting session. "You should," he started. Helen raised her hand gently. "We don't correct here," she said. "We ask." Logan flushed. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. May I ask why you chose that approach? The room softened. It was the first crack in the wall he had built his entire life. It happened in the garden. Luna watched him struggle with a broken irrigation line. "You can ask for help," she said calmly. He looked at her, ashamed. "I don't know how." She handed him the wrench. "You just did." Their eyes met. Not enemies, not family, just two people learning. That night, Logan wrote a letter. "I see you now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to become someone who deserves it." He didn't give it to Lydia. He wasn't ready. Weeks passed. Logan stayed. He worked. He listened. He failed quietly. One morning, Lydia watched him carry firewood for a woman twice his age without being asked. Margaret leaned over. "He's learning." Lydia nodded. "We'll see." One evening, Lydia finally sat across from him, not as judge, not as mother, as witness. "You're different," she said. "I'm empty," he replied, but in a good way. She smiled softly. "Good," she said. "That's where rebuilding starts." The mountains didn't cheer. They didn't need to. Some choices change everything, and this one had only just begun. Staying was harder than leaving. Logan learned that quickly. Leaving required pride. Staying required surrender, and surrender demanded a cost. Every morning at 6, the bell rang. No snooze buttons, no excuses. Logan rose with everyone else, pulled on worn gloves, and joined the quiet line moving toward the day's work. He scrubbed floors that no one complimented, carried stones until his shoulders burned, listened to stories he had once dismissed. No one praised him. That was the point. Lydia watched from a distance, not with hope, with patience. Word reached the city. Vanessa's social circle found out where Logan was. Messages flooded his phone. "You've lost your mind. She turned you against your own life. This is humiliation." Logan read them all, then deleted them. For the first time, the noise didn't guide him. The real test came quietly. A donor visited the retreat, wealthy, influential, curious. Logan recognized him instantly. An old contact, an opportunity. The man pulled him aside. "You could help your mother scale this," he said. "Real money, real expansion." Logan's instincts kicked in automatically. Control, growth, status. He almost spoke. Then he remembered Lydia's rules. He stepped back. "You'll need to speak to her," he said. "I don't represent this place." The donor looked surprised. Lydia later heard about it. She said nothing, but something shifted. It happened in the workshop. A woman named Rachel broke down mid-task, panic flooding her voice. Logan stepped forward instinctively. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe." He reached out. She flinched. The room froze. Helen intervened immediately. "That's enough for today," she said gently. Logan stepped back, his face pale. He hadn't meant harm, but intention didn't erase impact. That evening, Lydia called him into the office. The door closed. "This place exists because of boundaries," Lydia said calmly. "I know," Logan replied, voice tight. "I crossed one." "Yes." Silence. "You don't get to decide when someone is safe. You wait to be invited." He nodded. "I'm sorry." "Sorry isn't the repair. Change is." He swallowed. "If you ask me to leave—" "I'm not," Lydia said. Relief flickered, then died. "But you will step back," she continued. "No workshops, No mentoring, only physical work. For now. He bowed his head. Understood. Logan cried that night. Not loudly. Into his pillow. No one rescued him. That was mercy. The next morning, Rachel approached Lydia. "I don't want him gone," she said softly. "I want him to learn." Lydia studied her. "Are you sure?" Rachel nodded. "He stopped when I asked." Lydia respected that. Trust was given by those who were harmed, not by those who meant well. That night, Lydia remembered her own past, times she had swallowed discomfort so others wouldn't feel awkward. She hadn't protected herself then. She would now. The firewood moment. Weeks later, winter crept in early. Logan carried firewood for hours, hands raw. Lydia watched him pass by. He didn't look at her, didn't expect approval. That mattered. Staying meant being uncomfortable, being unseen, being corrected. Staying meant letting go of who he was, and slowly becoming someone new. Lydia knew something now. Redemption wasn't about effort, it was about respect, and he was finally learning the price. The trouble didn't arrive loudly, it never did. It came in the form of an envelope, cream-colored, official, slipped beneath the front office door on a Tuesday morning when the mountains were still wrapped in fog. Lydia read it once, then again. Her face didn't change, but something in her spine straightened. A formal complaint, filed anonymously. Accusations carefully worded. Unlicensed operations, improper financial practices, emotional manipulation of residents. Someone wanted the retreat shut down. By noon, the energy shifted. Women sensed it the way animals sense weather. Lydia gathered them in the main hall. "No one is in trouble," she said calmly, "but we are being examined." Margaret adjusted her glasses. "By whom?" "The county," Lydia replied, "and possibly worse." Silence fell. Rachel clenched her hands. "Are we going to be sent away?" "No," Lydia said firmly, "not without a fight." Logan stood near the back, stomach tightening. He knew this language. He knew this kind of attack. And he knew exactly who would benefit. That evening, Logan's phone rang. A familiar voice. "Vanessa." "You're in danger," she said smoothly. "That place is under investigation." "I know," Logan replied. "I can make it stop," she continued. "I still have contacts." Logan closed his eyes. "What do you want?" he asked. "You," she said. "Back. And your mother out of the spotlight." The truth clicked into place. The complaint. The timing. The threat. Logan walked to Lydia's office immediately. "I think Vanessa's behind this," he said without preamble. Lydia looked up slowly. "Why?" "She offered to fix it," he said. "If I leave, if you step back." Lydia nodded once. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "You're not angry?" he asked. "No," Lydia replied. "I'm prepared." The inspectors arrived 2 days later. Clipboards. Neutral faces. They asked questions. They examined finances. They interviewed residents. Lydia answered everything calmly. Margaret produced immaculate records. Helen explained the programs. Women spoke. Not rehearsed.
not fearful. Honest. Logan stayed silent, exactly where he was told to be. One inspector paused. "These women don't sound controlled," she said quietly. "They sound empowered." Lydia smiled politely. That was the goal. Vanessa arrives. She didn't expect Lydia to be there when she showed up. But Lydia was waiting. Vanessa stepped out of her car, confidence sharp as ever. "You could have avoided this," she said. Lydia met her gaze. "You could have left us alone." Vanessa scoffed. "You ruined my life." "No," Lydia replied calmly. "You revealed it." Vanessa turned to Logan. "You're choosing them over me?" Logan's voice didn't shake. "I'm choosing responsibility." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "You'll regret it." Lydia shook her head. "You already do."
2 weeks later, the letter arrived. No violations found. Operations approved. The retreat stood, stronger, cleaner, protected. Logan exhaled for the first time in months. That night, Lydia stood before the women. "Someone tried to take this from us," she said. "They failed." Applause broke out, not loud, but fierce. Lydia looked at Logan. "You stayed," she said. "I learned," he replied. She nodded. "That's how we know." Later, Lydia sat alone on the balcony. The mountains glowed under moonlight. She felt no triumph, only peace. Because real power didn't shout. It endured. The mountains looked the same. That was the strange thing. 2 years passed, and the peaks still caught the sunrise the same way, still held the fog in their arms each morning, still stood unmoved by human drama. But everything within those mountains had changed. There were 12 cabins now instead of 6. Not flashy, not advertised. Each one built slowly, carefully, only when the community was ready. The gardens stretched farther down the hillside, rows of vegetables feeding not just the retreat, but families in town. What once began as survival had turned into abundance. No one called it charity. They called it cooperation. Luna no longer carried fear in her shoulders. She walked with certainty now, her daughter racing ahead of her through the grass, laughter echoing where silence once lived. She worked as a licensed nurse at the clinic full-time. At night, she studied. "Not because I need to prove anything," she told Lydia one evening, "but because I finally believe I can." Lydia smiled, heart full. Margaret had become a legend in town. Women came specifically to learn finances from her. She taught them how to open accounts, read contracts, recognize manipulation. "Money doesn't make you powerful," she always said. "Understanding does." Helen's workshops were booked months ahead. She taught women how to speak without shrinking, how to sit in a room without apologizing for existing. "You don't need permission," she would say. "You just need courage once. The rest follows." Logan still lived in a small cabin. He never asked for more. He worked maintenance, logistics, repair. He didn't run anything. He supported it. When people asked who he was, he didn't say founder son. He said, "I help keep the place standing." That was enough. Logan still carried the letter he wrote to Lydia, folded, unsent. Some apologies weren't meant to be delivered. They were meant to be lived. On a quiet morning, Lydia arranged flowers again, purple and white, the same as the day the past arrived uninvited. She was older now, stronger, free. A new woman stood at the door, young, exhausted, terrified. Lydia opened it gently. "Come inside," she said. "You're safe here." Later that day, Lydia received a message. From Logan Harrington. "I don't need anything. I just wanted you to know.
I understand now. Lydia read it once. This time she didn't delete it. She placed the phone down and smiled. That evening, Lydia stood before the wall of photographs. New faces had been added, not because she needed to be seen, but because the women deserved to be remembered. Family wasn't blood. It was choice. It was respect. It was showing up when nothing was guaranteed. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, Lydia thought of something she once believed. That love meant endurance. That sacrifice meant silence. She knew better now. Love was mutual. Family was earned. And the greatest revenge of all was peace. If this story moved you, it's because you felt it. Tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from? Who would you choose? Blood or respect? Like, share, subscribe for more stories of quiet justice, boundaries, and power reclaimed.